Citizens of Earth, my name is Liam and I will soon be the controller of your planet. Do not attempt to resist. All who do not comply will be exterminated. Those who do comply will live a lifetime of tyranny and subjugation. Either way, I win. I will arrive in exactly 30 minutes. You have until then to disarm all your weapons and relinquish them to my control. I'll be waiting.
Side-scrolling shoot-em-ups. They're a staple of 1980s arcades that are among the most beloved video games of that era. The fast-paced gameplay always leaves the player wanting more, which of course made them highly lucrative. The very first one was Bomber by Sega, and that's all there is to say about it. I wish I was joking. I tried finding footage and gameplay, but only got stuff for an unrelated Atari game called Canyon Bomber. Even Sega Retro, the go-to site for info on Sega games, has nothing else. The first side-scrolling shooter that anyone knows about is Defender, released by Williams in 1980. The success of Defender paved way for such games as Twin Bee, Fantasy Zone, and Gradius. But there's one side-scrolling shoot-em-up of this era which is well remembered, but not for its gameplay. The game is Zero Wing and was developed by Toaplan and released in arcades in 1989. It was ported to the Mega Drive in Japan in 91 and Europe in 92, but a home port never made it to America. When porting the game, Toaplan decided to add an opening cutscene to explain the game's story, which worked great in Japanese, but once Sega of Europe got a hold of it, it got botched. Now, typos and mistranslations in video games aren't uncommon. Sometimes it's a spelling mistake, sometimes it's a grammar mistake, sometimes it's on the game's case. But games editors work extremely hard, and their tough job means they'll inevitably miss a few things. But this? I have no idea how it got released the way it did. If you've ever seen anything from this game, it's probably the opening cutscene. Let's have a look. I have to give the game credit though. Everything is spelled correctly, including congratulations at the end. But I must ask, if the game is most famous for its opening cutscene, what is the game actually like? Of course, the only English copy of this game is PAL, and because playing PAL games on NTSC systems isn't recommended due to the difference in frame rate, emulators are the best option. I recommend Gens Plus, I think is the best Genesis emulator out there. One interesting thing about Toaplan is that their games almost always default to easy mode. Well, that's what they recommend, I'm not gonna question it, wink wink. The controls are simple enough. A and C both shoot, and B serves as a tractor beam that can hold ships in place and then fire them at other ships. To be honest, there are only a few points of the game where this is actually useful. Most of the time when you're using B, it's when the game gives you a bomb weapon. You can move left and right, but be careful because you can't turn around and shoot behind you. That means if an enemy is behind you, you better move to the left of the screen as fast as you can before you get hit, because like in true arcade fashion, one hit is all you get. Luckily, the game has unlimited continues. Combine that with the emulator save states, and game overs don't mean very much. You don't even go back to the beginning of the stage when you die, just to the last invisible checkpoint you passed. Power-ups are contained in these ships that kinda look like steampunk whales. Well, that's what I think anyway. There are 3 shooting upgrades. Red gives you 2 additional mini-ships, but that doesn't make you a bigger target, since only the primary ship can be damaged. Blue gives you longer continuous shots, and green gives you homing shots. The upgrades can be stacked to increase their potency. Trust me when I tell you, you don't want to lose the homing shots. They are a godsend. The homing shots remind me of the Chaser from Gunstar Heroes, another underrated Genesis game. Maybe one day I'll talk about that one, it's easily my favorite running gun game. The whales also drop some other power-ups, including speed boost, the aforementioned bombs, extra lives, and one time I got one that increased the shots even more, but it went away after I died, even with save states. The whale that dropped it seems to be randomized, something that I don't think occurs anywhere else. The game has 8 stages, each with a wide variety of structures, enemies, and bosses. The game also has rounds, but that merely designates how many times you've played through the game. Stage 1 begins again on round 2. With the exception of the 4th one, each stage has a mid-boss and a regular boss. Generally, the bosses follow 2 patterns. They're either hold down the fire button until you win, or dodge attacks and fire when you can until you win. The first stage is relatively straightforward. You fly through space into a spaceship where enemy ships approach you. The mid-boss kinda looks like if Krang and Mother Brain had a baby. I'm sorry, that was just horrific to think about, wasn't it? The main boss is its older brother, I suppose. Fighting this boss is when I realized just how valuable the green missiles are. The second stage is similar to the first, but has more of a factory motif. The mid-boss is a set of advanced aircraft, and the main boss is whatever this thing is. The third stage takes place within an asteroid field that primarily consists of moving diagonally, which isn't the easiest thing in this game because you're always moving forward. The mid-boss is a large green spaceship, and the main boss is this guy, who I think is compensating for something with his gun. The fourth stage takes place in a jungle area with some aircraft carriers. The sole boss is the ship, which seems to be fueled by a miniature black hole. The fifth stage is in a submarine tunnel, with a diagonal brick-esque design in the foreground. It's got several armed vehicles that will fire regularly at you. The mid-boss is this blue ship which sends out some flunkies that I'm gonna call whirlipedes because, face it, that's what they are. The main boss is these three round red things that shoot out morbid centipedes. And the morbidity only continues as the background of the sixth stage consists primarily of worms. Here lots of enemies spawn behind you, so you need to be extremely cautious, especially in sections like this. The mid-boss is this weird spiky ship, and the main boss is what appears to be a trio of armored clamshells. The seventh stage is my favorite. Besides the player's ship and the whales, there are no mechanical elements here. All the enemies are organic bugs that make a different sound when defeated than the other enemies. I also really like the insectoid skeletons that seemingly exist just to be scenery. The mid-boss is this freaky eyeball, and after you beat it, eyeballs start appearing in the background, just to creep you out even more. The main boss is this ungodly abomination I'm just gonna try to cleanse from my mind. The eighth and final stage is back to more normal territory, being industrial factory with some mountain elements near the end. The mid-boss is this green hover ship, and the final boss is this giant death tank which has a constantly replenishing supply of skull orbs. Maybe it's because I played on easy mode, but I thought the final boss was pretty underwhelming. But regardless, it's still extremely satisfying to finish this game.
I've seen a lot of weird things in games, and I guarantee you, this is the weirdest.
This is Toaplan's mascot, Pipiru. He only appears when you play on easy mode. Normal and hard brings you to the credits. Now I'm actually kinda happy I played on easy mode because otherwise I never would have seen this. The Japanese version actually had 32 additional endings, all featuring cats saying something humorous. Overall, Zero Wing is awesome. It has fun gameplay, easy to learn controls, and an awesome soundtrack in that distinctly Genesis style. Even the can-can sounds good. And of course, its butchered translations have become ingrained in meme culture, so Zero Wing will always have a place in our hearts.
While side-scrolling shoot-'em-ups aren't the most advanced games in the world, their simplicity makes them a great offering, especially in the 80s when 3D shooters weren't very polished. I feel like I'm forgetting something. You turned off my message. I suppose the threat for extermination went right over your head. You have 1 minute to open this door before I shoot it down. I'm not bluffing.
I need a weapon. No. 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 That one's got potential. Ah, there we go. That's good.
I expected a greater challenge. Ah, crap. Two can play that game.
You were a formidable foe. But fear not, this isn't the last you've seen of me. I'll be back, and you won't be expecting it.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching the video. It's definitely the most effort I ever put into a single video. I hope you liked it. There's a secret subliminal message hidden somewhere in this video. The first person to comment what it is and what it references will receive a special shout out at the beginning of the next video. See you then.